Okay, so I'll start, ma'am. Yeah, so a very good afternoon, good evening to everyone present here. My name is Beulah Sundarajan, and I am delighted to welcome our principal, Dr. Sridhara Shetty, our vice principal, ma'am, Dr. Liji Santosh, and our vice principal, sir, Professor Sandesha Shetty. Our program officers, Dr. Vijay Vishwakarma, sir, and Professor John Menezes, sir, and our teacher in charges, Professor Swati Shetty, ma'am, and Professor Ashish Navik, sir. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the participants gathered in large numbers and our panelists for today's session. I am the host for today's session, Tears, Fears, and Cheers. And today, we are going to talk about relationships. The greatest happiness of life is the conviction that we are loved for ourselves, or rather loved in spite of ourselves, was once quoted by a great author, Maya Angelou. On that note, I would like to introduce our panelist for today's session. Let's begin with Professor Natasha ma'am, who's representing as psychologist. Ma'am is a charismatic and intuitive therapist with master's degree in psychology. Among her other specializations, she is a mental health advocate, educationist, life skills coach, CBT therapist, and a yoga teacher. An evaluator with expertise and experience spanning over 10 plus years. Ma'am is our in-house counseling psychologist and our institution. Professor John Menezes, sir, representing as teacher. Sir is currently the professor in our College of BCom Department and an NSS program officer. He has been working in SM Shetty College since June 2014 and he is currently pursuing PhD in Commerce. He is a music enthusiast and in charge of our college music club and the member of the sports committee of the college. Next, I would like to introduce Ms. Mildred Lobo ma'am, representing as parent. Ma'am is the principal of Bansanga's SM Shetty International School and Junior College and parent to a 25-year-old and a 19-year-old. She is always passionate about children and their well-being and most importantly, their happiness. Next, Mr. Ratan Sawant, who is representing as male student. Ratan is the current Joint General Secretary of our college, and he comes from a background in literary and performing arts and has helped in various ideas during student council time in the lockdown. He enjoys interacting with new people from different walks of life and tries to learn something new from everyone. And next, I would also like to introduce Ms. Nehal Rai as a female student. Ms. Nehal Rai, the representative of our NSS unit, has been very dedicated to her work. She has always given her time for our NSS unit. She started her journey as an NSS volunteer in the year 2019. Recently, she has been awarded with the national level NSS Yubyoda Award for selfless service on the occasion of NSS Foundation Day on 24th September 2021. She is very hardworking and dedicated towards her post. So welcome to all our panelists present here. So we shall begin with our very first question of the day. So my first
Beulah, just a minute.
Yes,
Beulah, just 1 minute. We would also like to acknowledge the presence of our Councillor Pratima Bandakar ma'am, and who is very, she is very much active in all the endeavors, whatever the psychology department, like mental health departments is coming up. Thank you so much and welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. I have my cup of coffee. It's crow over coffee, right? So yes, I have mine with me here.
Welcome, Pratima ma'am. So let's begin with our very first question of today. So Natasha ma'am, my first question goes to you. As a mental health professional, what is your take on relationship?
Wow, that's a big question, Beulah, that you've posed and comes with a lot of responsibility. I hope I'm able to do justice to that. Relationships, the word when we hear relationships, so much comes to our mind. Of course, the first thing that comes is a romantic relationship. And of course, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. But however, what does it mean to relate? What does it mean to connect? The word in itself is giving out that it is about relating. It is about connection. It is about how we talk, how we behave, how we deal with each other. So relationships can be between two people, can be between a group, can be between families. So relationship doesn't need to be restricted only to a romantic, relationship, but relationships are something, basic example, teacher-student relationship, panelist relationship. We are all here today as a panelist, and we are sharing, as colleagues, the platform. Parent-child relationship, even the basicest of relationship which you form, a connection you form with your dudwala bhaiya, with somebody, your newspaper bhaiya, or the library teacher. So relationships are everywhere. They are like the foundation, right? They not only just are there, but they're actually serving a very huge purpose of positive mental health. They support us grow, they help us evolve. We are not islands, no, that we are living in isolation. So it's a great place to visit. Like, solitude is good to visit, but we come back and celebrate in life together. So relationships help us grow, help us evolve. um, Being in a relationship, also should include, if you ask me, very, very importantly, a relationship with our own selves. When we have a good and a balanced relationship with our own self, that is the time when we can also relate well with people around us. So for me, in short, relationships as an umbrella is an umbrella term where so many wonderful connections come under that lovely umbrella of relationships. And if you ask me in a very simple way, Beulah, that I feel there are four pillars. I'll end this just by saying that there are four pillars to relationships. Any relationships, then that means where care, trust, and respect are there, but there is also the fourth pillar of celebration. Your relationship only deepens, and the bond becomes really great when you're able to be joyful and celebrative with the other person. So even including that in a relationship, whichever relationship then it be, makes a big difference. So that's what it is for me. And also I made a small diagram here, if you all can see, that relationships, we feel that it's only between you and me, but actually the relationship has three relationships inside it. One relationship has three relationships. One where I share something with my own self, that is my relationship with my own self. A relationship where the other partner could be a parent, could be a teacher, could be your romantic partner, they have with their own selves. And the third relationship where it's a relationship of us being together. So one relationship actually comprises of three relationships. So in short, yeah, that's what is relationships for me. But there's always a lot to say, and I look forward to hearing what other panelists have to say. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving such a great start. So my next question is to Ratan. So Ratan, as a student, especially from a young perspective, how do you see relationships?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. So before we start, Pratima ma'am, even I have my thermos of coffee here, so cheers to you. So yeah, as Natasha ma'am already said, relationships can mean so many different things. As we go on each and every day, we have so many different relationships with so many people. But I guess today we're here to focus more on the romantic aspect of relationships. So according to me, romantic relationships are, so let's break the word relationship first. Okay, first is relation could be any sort of link or a network between two people. And finally, ship is something that sinks, which signifies that all our relationships are going to drown. Yeah, in all seriousness though, relationships for me are something or somewhere where you translate the love that you have received from your parents into some other people. For example, I, as a guy, I have seen my father provide for me a lot. My father has taught me the responsibility or the need to provide for someone. So I have a similar need that's been inculcated in me, and through my romantic relationships, that is what that's what I want to transfer to other people. That's relationships for me.
Amazing, Ratan. So thank you so much for giving your views. My next question is to you, Mildred ma'am. Ma'am, as a parent, what would your opinion be on relationships?
Okay, so hello everyone. It's a real pleasure being here, and I'm so happy to see Ratan here. Ratan has been one of my students, and Ratan, we share a very special relationship, don't we?
We do, ma'am. Indeed, we do.
Yes. So for me, when I think of relationships, I think of a huge jigsaw puzzle, not the simple 90-piece jigsaw puzzle or the 100-piece. I think of that 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle where you hold each piece and look at it really carefully and see where it fits. And just when you think you've got it all together, you find that one piece is suddenly missing. It's gone under the couch or it's gone behind the cushion. And it's such a complex relationship. And when I think of it, I was just reading the other day, it's like this. There's sometimes in a relationship a kind of a conflict. And when I think of that conflict, it is like my mistake, your mistake, conflict. My mistake, your perfection, conflict. Your mistake, my perfection, conflict. And sometimes my perfection and your perfection, still conflict. So what do we do? This whole business of relationships is so complex and it can never be a perfect one. And I really believe that what we need at this point of time is something called relationship resonance, where in spite of the conflict, you accept that conflict, you try to resolve it in the best possible way. And first of all, you need to look into the mirror. And maybe you'll find the answer to that. So that whole business of relationships is so complex in my mind. When Miss Natasha started with all kinds of relationships, and I'm so privileged as an educator, I have lots and lots of relationships with my students. So Ratin, I'm interested in those romantic relationships. And I know from where you're coming from. And it's so important what he said, to translate that care and that love into every relationship, even when it is a romantic relationship. And you sometimes always want to be the boss right there, right? But it's all about sharing and being together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for just enhancing the points what Ratan just said. So my next question is to John, sir. Sir, as a professor, what is your say on relationships?
Yeah, thank you, Beulah, for the question. Now, as an individual and as a professor, my questions and answers will surely differ. Now, as a professor, if I would say, there is a big generation gap between the relationship issues at our times and with the current generation. So, years back, when I was a student, anyone being in a relationship was considered to be a privilege. So you can ask your parents or maybe anyone who are grown-ups at home, एक अलग level का respect हुआ करता था. But now there is a different take to this. We find students, and in some cases of their relationships, the love, the respect that they share, the commitment that they have, and the bonding that they exhibit, it seems to be lost somewhere. Either there is a mutual gain that people are looking after, either there is jealousy that has cropped in, or there is insecurity, because of which, I don't know, students feel that I should outperform the other. Initially, at our times, people used to come up, or relationships used to crop up due to doubts, due to people coming, sitting together, doing group studies. But now it is like it is an individual affair. Friends played an important role, but now social media and I think dating apps are playing another important role over here. People are running over insecurities. What I want, maybe the other person may not give, and then breakups happen. And if you talk to your parents at some point of time, or maybe grown-ups at home, and you discuss with them about relationship, they will say that hamare zamane mein, and they continue. So from an educator's perspective or from a teacher's perspective, I have seen relationships in our college or maybe in some other college budding up to Rose Day, and maybe after Valentine's it breaks up. So maybe yes, people are looking for something and they are not getting it. So maybe that bond gets missed out, or maybe there is something which they are searching for and they are not getting it. So probably I hope people get this up. So yes, this is my take as a professor.
Thank you so much, sir, for your views on that, and so wonderfully you had explained it. So next, moving on to our next panelist, Snehal. As a student, and especially from a female perspective, how do you see relationships?
Uh, Thank you so much, Beulah, for that question. Relationship, according to me, is like वो एक ना प्यारा सा बॉन्ड है जहाँ पे हम एक दूसरे से सारी बातें शेयर करते हैं भले वो लाइक रोमांटिक रिलेशनशिप हो या रिलेशनशिप विद योर बेस्ट फ्रेंड और एनीवन एल्स इन योर लाइफ there there needs to be trust, care, respect, and mutual understanding to make your relationship stronger and longer. It's like giving freedom to each other and एक दूसरे को time देना because communication is the key of any relationship. Handling every situation patiently without hurting your partner and being each other's friends. एक दूसरे को मोटिवेट करना, एक दूसरे का साथ कभी नहीं छोड़ना किसी भी सिचुएशन में and being the best version of yourself with each other. I think that's relationship for me. But for example, like your relation with your best friends. हम यहाँ पे सब अपने best friend को पसंद करते हैं, right? And we share everything with our best friends. But when you get in a relationship, I would like to tell that be best friends first, and then maybe मतलब पहले get to know each other first, and then maybe then you can level up your relationship and be lovers. That's it.
Thank you so much, Snehal, for such an awesome way of answering that question. So, moving on to John, sir. I'm sure students might come to you and share their hearts and secrets about relationships and seeking guidance. So, how do you, as a teacher, help students resolve those challenges?
Thank you, Beulah, for the question.
Yes, sir.
So before we jump to solving student relationship problems, I feel it is important to take note of few points. So in my opinion, in such matters, a teacher should be trustworthy because gossiping will add more damage to the problem. I believe one should first listen to the problem rather than arriving at judgments or suggestions. So now how do I end up solving this problem? So I generally ask questions. If the student is comfortable to answer, this not only builds trust with him or her, but also makes the student aware that the teacher is interested to help out. So making the student comfortable and creating that zone so that he reaches out. Another way is I get to know the entire scenario and probably listen to both the sides of the relationship. Now, in case of matters which are serious, I generally keep my department head or maybe a senior faculty in loop as because it is better to have a different perspective altogether. Because I may be looking at one perspective, the students might be looking at another perspective. So to get a different angle is very important. So another way is our college has a counseling center and we are very much blessed because of it. There have been cases, I still remember a recount a case. There was a student who was very much depressed and going through self-hurt. So we identified the student and then there was a time we had to refer to the student to the counseling center. And yes, it actually helped the student to come out of that situation. Now, when there are matters that require authoritative discretion, so I generally reported to the concerned authority so that necessary actions could be taken. But sometimes things need to be dealt with in an authoritative manner. Maybe 1% of the case, but still, I believe it is at times required. Now, the advice that I generally would give to a student, so be real in their relationship. Now, don't have the relationship for self or mutual gain, or like I said, to create jealousy or competition. Now, if things are not working out, take a future leap, sit down and think, like, are you happy together with each other in the future? Or maybe now, if you're not happy, maybe do you think things will work out? So if yes, then it is better to continue. If no, it is that time you decide that it is better to part ways. And in the most understanding, comfortable, and solvable manner possible. don't stress out just in case you break up. Now, some things or people may not be meant for you. Believe that something better is yet to come. I know sitting here and telling about this is very easy, but students who go through breakup, it is very difficult for them to convince. So this is generally what I do. If possible, give them a positive angle about life, or sit and speak to them, and sometimes share things which I went through when I was a student, or when I was growing up, or when I was in the working culture. Problems that I encountered, maybe relationship problems which me or my friends have encountered. So I generally share it with the students. And wherever help is needed, approach the ones you trust. For example, I can still relate one case when a student went through a bad breakup, and the friends came up to me and told, कि sir इसका बहुत बुरा दिन चल रहा है. Now, what happened is, we were in good rapport with the student, and I personally knew the student. This was an interdepartment relationship, and things did not work out. So we were in constant touch. He approached me, and later we sat together. We sat with the friends, and then we sorted this out. So it is only between me and him and his friends who know this issue. So yes, this is what I can vouch for.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving such a deep explanation. And yes, truly, relationships are not really about all the positive things. There are some negatives to it. And thank you for putting a light on that. And before I move ahead with Snehal, I would like to request all the participants to kindly switch on their cameras if possible. And they can stay muted, but the camera is on. So Snehal, relating to what John sir just said, like if you are facing any trouble, you should go to the ones you trust. So Snehal, as a female, what would you do if your parents get to know about a relationship? How would you handle this situation? And how do we know, like, how to reduce the resistance and win their trust?
Sneha, before you begin, I'd quickly like to interject. Beulah, if so, this is personally work for me as well. So,
Okay.
in case, I mean, your parents do figure out
Mhm.
about your relationship, obviously talking out is a good solution. But also something you can try is absconding and running away from your home, changing families. It's worked out perfectly for me. I'm on my third family right now, so that's really my solution to this problem. But let's hear what Sneha has to say.
Okay, Ratin, I think लड़कियों के इसमें वो चीजें नहीं चल सकती. Okay, so सबसे पहली चीज कि सबके घर का situation is different, मतलब some parents are supportive but some are not, and like जो parents supportive नहीं होते हैं ना, they are like कि तुमने हमारा भरोसा तोड़ दिया and society में मुंह दिखाने लायक नहीं छोड़ा and ऐसा. But being a girl, if my parents get to know about my relationship, there are many restrictions. तो कभी कभार ऐसा होता है कि ऐसे restrictions लगा देते हैं that I cannot go out with my friends, and कभी कभार मोबाइल छीन लेते हैं, like no mobile phone, no chats, no calls with your friends, and sometimes in worst cases मतलब parents लड़कियों का शादी भी fix करना try कर देते, like चालू कर देते. But if something like this will happen with me, if something like this happens with me, I will try to convince my parents and talk with them about my partner. Like I'll tell them कि हाँ मतलब मैं झूठा तारीफ तो नहीं करूंगी, but at least I'll tell them कि जो भी अच्छी चीजें हैं उसके बारे में. Also listen to their perspective कि उनका perspective क्या है मेरे partner के खिलाफ, मतलब मेरे partner के लिए. Also if अगर वो कभी कुछ गलत बोलते हैं तो भी I'll try to stay calm and politely मैं उनको सारी चीजें बताऊंगी. Obviously एक दिन में parents नहीं मानेंगे, but आजकल parents want us to focus on our career and studies and take responsibilities. So I think I'll maintain balance between my work and studies and relationship, and prove myself and show them my potential, and like try my best to build that trust again. And it will take time, obviously, as I said. But कभी कभार parents approve कर देते हैं. But कभी कभार what happens कि parents approve नहीं भी करते. But I think वहाँ पे हम पेरेंट्स को भी दोष नहीं दे सकते, बिकॉज समटाइम्स उनको भी ऐसा चाहिए ना कि लाइक हमारा बच्चा आगे जाके कहीं मतलब ऐसे ब्रेकअप को फेस ना करे एंड हमेशा हैप्पी रहे. So I think it's not their fault also, but sometimes parents approve and sometimes they don't. That's it.
You're very correct, Nehal. Parents do love us a lot.
Right.
So, linking with your views and your say, Mildred ma'am, my next question goes to you. If your child comes to you disclosing about their like or love for a person, how would you as a parent respond to this?
First of all, I would be very happy that they haven't run away and they're living with that third family, because I'm very sure in that third family of Ratin, there's his mom and dad and Savni as well. So, having said
That was the first family actually.
that was the first family, no?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the third family as well. I'm coming to check. You know what? I was just listening to John sir, and he was talking what happens when they come to us when we are educators, and I'm both. I'm an educator as well as a parent, and let me tell you very honestly, it's so much easier to manage when they come to you as an educator, because they're not, they're not, I wouldn't say they're not your children, but there's a slight difference. I always say that there are my biological children and there are the children of my heart. So when the children of my heart, my students come to me and tell me this, I'm still able to keep that rational approach. I'm still able to look at it objectively. Let me give you a small example. Just today, I've had a student who came to me. He's going on to do his master's in UK. So I was writing his recommendation letter. And we both remembered an incident where he and his friend had a terrible fallout over a girl. And he said to me, ma'am, if you hadn't sat the two of us down that day, I don't think our friendship would have lasted. He's talking about the other boy. Okay, they are the best of friends till today. The other boy is moving from Canada to UK. They're going to be living together. And this girl is still with the other boy. So friendships were maintained all around. And I just thought to myself, I was able to deal with that so calmly. Now, when it comes to me as a parent, my heart skips a beat. And sometimes I just don't know what to say. But I tell myself I need to be grateful that my child has that comfort level with me, that he has come to tell me something like this. And I need to give him that space. I need to give him that voice, and I need to respect his choice. That choice might not be my choice, and especially when sometimes it is of the same gender, and it's not my choice. And I need to respect that as well. And I need to sit and understand where he is coming from, to just let him talk about it, to let him feel safe. Because I know that no matter what I say, the decision is not going to change. How is that handled is so important. We have to gain the trust of our children. And when children trust us, things will get better. I'm not saying it's easy. It's very messy. And we want to yell, we want to shout, we want to say, at this point of time, you better focus on your studies, because that's what's going to take you far. Keep this aside. There's a time for everything. But times have changed. And we as parents need to understand that. We as parents need to be able to understand our children and give them that space. We have had students also coming to tell us that they like someone of the same gender. And we sometimes don't know what to say. We don't know whether it's going to blow over, whether it's just a fad, whether it is something that is just going to continue. So I think as parents, when we come across a situation like that, we need to give ourselves time also to process, and maybe we need to find support for ourselves. We cannot be judgmental. We cannot be kind of really, really harsh with our children, because they're going to close the door. And when they close the door, you're not going to be knowing what is happening. At least when the door is open, you can be there for them. And sometimes heartbreaks will occur. And that's the time when you definitely can't say, I told you so. I knew that this was going to happen. It's at that point of time your child needs you the most, whether the child is in school or whether the child is at your own home. So, as a parent, if my child came and told me this, and my child has come and told me that he likes someone, and frankly speaking, I'm not very comfortable with the person he likes, but I understand, I accept, I give the voice and the choice. And I want my son to know at all points of time that I am there for him through thick and thin. And if he's running away to that third family, I'm running along with him. And that should be our take as parents. Again, I'm saying it's not easy, it's very messy, but in that mess, the cord that we have with our child cannot be broken. We might not like what the child is doing, but we definitely can't say we don't like the child. So that's the way that I think we as parents should look at a particular situation. When your child comes and says, I like someone and you don't like, or I like someone and you're okay with it, or I like someone and I'm there with you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for so beautifully explaining in such a deep way. So, my next question will be for Ratan. Ratan, how do you feel ego impacts our relationship? Like, not only on the perspective of a relationship between two people, but between, parents and, children, and between two people overall. How do you feel that it's going to impact the relationship, the ego?
Great question. Thank you for that. So Natasha ma'am started out by telling us that within a relationship, there are two others. So we really have three relationships going on when we are in a relationship with someone. The first one was what relationship we have with ourselves. So I guess that is what ego talks about. So to quickly define ego, what does ego mean? And let's understand why it's used so negatively. Ego basically just means the self-esteem you have or what you think about yourself. So, I mean, sounds like a very positive thing, but why can it be used so negatively? What do we mean when we call someone egoistic when we're in an argument? And whenever you call someone egoistic, that really seems to tick them off. So let's understand why that is. So what I feel is, again, yeah, ego is self-worth, and the reason it's used negatively is because ego deals with the part where your self-respect takes a hit. So whenever something happens and you feel threatened about yourself and you feel threatened about your self-worth, that's what hurting someone's ego is considered. And the reason why that is so important is because, again, as Natasha ma'am said, a very important part of a relationship is the one we have with ourselves, because at the end of the day, how you view yourself really shapes the relationship you have with someone. And that's why ego plays such an important part in your relationship, because if you have a self-worth that has been harmed by various things, you are very likely to be troubled during the course of a relationship. Now this can mean anything, even romantic relationships or any other relationships that you might have. Male ego is a very popularly coined term. So in fact, let's just talk about general ego. So I want everyone in the audience, have you ever felt that you have been an egoistic person and you have let your ego get the better of you? If you have, I want a yes in the chat. I can personally confirm that I have been an egoistic person a lot of times in my life. Even Natasha ma'am thinks that. So thank you, ma'am, for your honesty. And yes, even I think I have been egoistic. And by that, I mean, I have let my self-worth get hurt due to something else. And that's just a natural part of someone. And that's bound to happen in your life many a times, during the course of a relationship or just during your normal life as well. There are so many things that we see every day. And especially now, I can quickly translate into how social media impacts our ego, which then further impacts our relationships. So right now we have been locked down for almost 2 years, and we have consumed so much content over the internet, whether it's social media, it's Netflix, it's YouTube, it's anything. We have consumed a lot of content. We see a lot of things every day. And I feel we let our ego get the better of us many times during, whatever we see or whatever we watch. So I'll just paint you a picture. For example, you're in a relationship with someone, you go on Instagram the next day, and there is this another guy who has 2 more biscuits than you on his abs, and he has probably biceps that are twice your size, and your girlfriend has said something about his picture. जब ये होता है तब जो तीर आके दिल में लगता है, that's when you know your ego has been hurt. And that has happened to so many of us so many times. Not to me, definitely not to me, 100% not to me. But every one of us definitely during some point in their lives. So that's how ego can severely affect our relationships. You can probably go and just remove your frustration on someone. It's really an ugly picture. So I'll just quickly say about what I think one should do to avoid this. Firstly, you have to accept it. This is something that comes very, very naturally to each and every one of us. There is no point denying it. So something that I have read a lot about is just working on your self-worth as soon as you can in your lives. If there is something that's hurting you from loving yourself, consult someone. I think that's one of the things that we want to promote through this webinar. Is that's why we have a mental health professional in our panel to just show you that whenever you have any sort of internal struggles, just let it be known that you have help that is very, very ready to you. So I guess that's something that everyone should work on. Obviously, it's way easier said than done, and we all have self-worth struggles throughout our lives, and I think that's something that could help us having these egoistic outbursts. That's my take on how ego impacts a relationship. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ratan, for all your honesty and such wonderful explanation of the answer of the question that I really asked. Okay, so next, let's move on to Natasha, ma'am. So, Natasha, ma'am, let's shed a light on the core of a relationship. How would one know that if they are in a healthy relationship or not? Are there any signs to look out for?
Wow, thanks, Beulah. And you know what? I've been hearing Ratin, Mildred, ma'am, John, sir, Nehal speak, and so many times, so many things were just coming to my mind because this information is just so rich in content, and perspectives are so different, and so new. Like, it's really nice and well put by all the participants there. So, like Mildred ma'am said, the bond strengthens when we go through a challenging time together. Now, what a great way. See, a child is in a relationship with another person, but yet still the parent and the child relationship bond can either strengthen or weaken. Like ma'am said, it's like a whole jigsaw puzzle. उसमें से कभी यहाँ पे होता है, वहाँ पे गिरता है, ये होता है, खो जाता है. But how we bring it all together, that's an art of relating or art of relationships. And when Ratin said that, about the whole ego or the power struggle thing, wherein especially when from the point of view about healthy relationships, when you say, Beulah, that I believe that what you go through, you really grow through that. So first of all, the way that Ratan said, that we have to address our own issues, our own self-awareness, our connection with our own self needs to strengthen. And no, don't be afraid. Like Mildred ma'am said, like 1,000-piece ka puzzle, don't be afraid. One piece at a time. We will figure it out, and that's what relationships are. So it's healthy. That's a healthy way of looking at it. Now, a lot of times people say कि ये नहीं होना चाहिए relationships में, वो नहीं होना चाहिए, but क्या होना चाहिए? I would like to share my screen if you could give me that sharing rights, please. I think I have it. Okay, so what are the things that we can look in, as green flags in relationships that really make relationships healthy? So a partner or people, your friends around you, the group that you're associated with. So here in this group or this, let's talk about the person with you, that partner with you. So it's important that that person supports your personal growth. Now, what does that mean? That he's supporting your individuality. There is a good balance between independence. That person is giving you independence. You are giving that person independence. And also there is a good balance between the intimacy and the togetherness that you share. So it's important that both of you are individuals and also together as one team. Now that will reduce the ego struggle, that will reduce the power struggle, that will bring more equalness in the relationship, which is healthy, which is important to have, and that's the goal. So वो बोलते हैं ना कि relationship goals, तो ये एक type का goal है, right? Somebody who practices self-care, like Ratan said very beautifully, somebody who takes care of themselves, thinks about themselves. So कितना अच्छा होगा ना कोई partner जो अपने बारे में भी एक sorted है अपने mind से, अपना सब ठीक से करता है या करती है, तो उसकी responsibility आपके ऊपर नहीं आएगी. That means that person really loves you, and because they are taking care of themselves so much, they can also have more. They are more equipped to take care of people around them. So this is a good green flag. People who communicate, who tell you emotions are difficult, communication is difficult. Who said it's going to be easy? Who said life was going to be easy, right? But they still make an effort. They try to communicate, they improve their communication. People who respect boundaries. See, this is very, very important. This word boundaries is so important. Boundaries are not walls. Most people think कि boundaries रखा तो कैसा relationship है. नहीं, boundaries are not walls. Boundaries में दरवाजा होता है, अपन खोल के अंदर आ सकते हैं, लेकिन जब भी जरूरत पड़ती है, fence होता है ना, हम उसको बंद भी कर सकते हैं. It's our choice. The control is still, so suppose say me, I don't like to probably go out clubbing. If my partner forces me to go out clubbing, how safe will that relationship be for me? Am I being respected in that relationship? No. If I don't feel like getting physically intimate or I'm not ready for it, and if my partner says or doesn't respect that choice, even in words, even once or twice, my brain will totally interpret it as कि this person doesn't really care for me. पहले एक दो बार I will overlook it. कि नहीं ठीक है, benefit of doubt, लेकिन बाद में 3-4 बार होने के बाद तो relationship bitter हो जाता है. So it's good when you see somebody respecting your boundaries. You really like that person. And best friends क्या होते हैं, friends क्यों होते हैं, जैसे अभी स्नेहल ने बोला बहुत अच्छे से कि friends first become friends. Why? Because in friendship you understand, you communicate, you are able to trust the other person and also respect the boundaries of the other person, right? So somebody who's also involved into healthy habits, somebody who's empathetic. So these are basic things that really make relationship healthy. Spending enough time with each other is healthy. Now this reminds me of a quote by a great master Khalil Gibran. So he says that relationships or lovers or two people should be like pillars of the temple. Neither too close, neither too far. If they're too close, the roof of the temple will collapse. If they're too far, the roof of the temple will collapse. Right? So at a good equidistance, giving space and being together, right? So this is a very healthy way of developing, because we are developing our own selves, our relationship with ourselves also. At the same time, we are developing this relationship together. So this is some very basic things that we can remember as the plus points or as good points in relationships. Now I want to share some things that we can avoid. Unhealthy stuff को avoid करेंगे तभी तो healthy stuff की तरफ focus जाएगा ना. नहीं तो most times हमारा unhealthy stuff में ही we kind of spend without realizing that it's unhealthy. It's important that we understand if somebody else is one thing, like I said about boundaries. Then if somebody is hyper focused on relationships, सिर्फ दुनिया में सब पूरा जो आपका attention है वो बस ये relationship ही है. They will not allow you to have friends. They'll not allow you to have other groups, other circles. They get insecure when you spend time with your family, parents. People get insecure when they don't love themselves enough. Now that is a red flag. It's unhealthy. It's not a good sign. वो लव का साइन नहीं है, मुझसे बहुत प्यार करता है तो बहुत पोजेसिव है. ये सिर्फ मूवीज में देखते हैं, सोशल मीडिया से इन्फ्लुएंस होते हैं कि अगर पोजेसिव नहीं है, केयर नहीं करेगा तो मतलब ये बोलता है ज्यादा मतलब बहुत केयर करता है, बहुत पॉजिटिव है. ऐसा नहीं है. दिस इज टॉक्सिक, राइट? लड़का ही नहीं, लड़की की भी मैं बात कर रही हूँ. So it's important that we have other things also to do, other healthy ventures also we are invested in that will strengthen our relationship, because it is bringing growth and evolving together. Anything stagnant nobody likes. It will collect moss. Something which is growing together, wherein we are secure enough for this person to explore and grow in their lives, I will explore and grow in my life, and thus our relationship together will also grow, because A and B are growing. So whatever C comes out of it will automatically be an enhanced version, right? Then somebody who avoids conflict, somebody who doesn't want to talk about the challenging parts. No, that's not a very healthy thing to do. We have to, because that's like Mildred ma'am said, it's relationships. They are messy, they are sticky, and that's great, because that's how they allow growth. right? We have to push in a little bit, but avoid conflict means they ghost you. Suddenly they'll go missing. They'll not take your phone calls. And then after 5 days, 6 days, they're coming back. So now that ghosting is a very new term. So somebody who's ghosting, please be mindful. I'm not saying they are bad people, but we just need to understand, where is this coming from? Is it worth my time and attention? If not, maybe they need help. Maybe I need help. We have to look into it, right? Somebody who's overly critical only looks at the negative things, not able to balance between the healthy suggestions and between something that they can kind of appreciate. So these are the things that we need to look into. Somebody who is manipulative, somebody who holds their affection. तूने ये नहीं किया तो जा मैं तेरे लिए ये नहीं करूंगा या करूंगी. Now, that's a very unhealthy thing, right? What's a healthy thing? To communicate appropriately, right? Unconditional love, that is healthy, or at least communicating where you are coming from, that is healthy. So these things, these signs I wanted to bring forward so that you all remember and not be hung on to the unhealthy, and try to pick on what is healthy. I will also, if anybody requires, I'll share a whole list later on if anybody asks for it, so you all can have it and just see in your relationship if there is more unhealthy or more healthy. And I hope there is much more healthy, at least 70% healthy, and 30% is the area for growth. Yeah. So Beulah, I think with that time, I think I can do this much. Thanks.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for putting such light to the basic and the minute things which are really necessary in a relationship. So yeah, thanks to you, ma'am. So let's move on to a whole other chapter of the session. So ma'am, Mildred ma'am, I would like to ask you my next question. Every generation comes with its new trends, strengths, and challenges at the same time. There is so much wisdom we can carry from the generation before us. Ma'am, any thought as a parent on this? Like any suggestions to students and parents listening to you?
That's why we say, you should listen to your parents, because there's wisdom in that old generation. We're called what? The boomer generation, it seems. Yeah, that's what my student told me. Okay, you're the boomer generation, ma'am. I said, yeah, you need to learn from the boomer generation. But that was on the lighter note. But seriously, we too need to learn from this new generation. And as parents, I think we need to keep our eyes, our ears all open. Because I'd never heard of Finsta. I heard of Insta, but it seems Finsta is one secret Instagram account where your parents don't know. So I never heard of words like ship. Till a student told me, ma'am, we were shipping these two teachers together. I'm like, ship? They're like, yeah, we were kind of linking them together. And today another student told me about simp. Did you even know what is simp? Okay, you people are nodding. So yeah, so these are the things that we as parents need to know. And one thing we definitely need to know is that POS, parent over shoulder. So when I see POS, I'm even more interested to stand there because there's something really happening. But at the same time, as parents, we don't need to keep prying into our children's affairs all the time. Frankly speaking, I'm also very tempted to open the door and go in. And if I see a diary, I feel tempted to, maybe peep into it. We don't need to really do that. We need to trust our kids. And, when I was talking to my son, he starts telling me something. I immediately jump in with 2-3 points of my own. And I tell myself, as a teacher, we're so used to jumping in all the time. He says, but mom, you're not even listening to what I'm saying. You're just assuming things. This is not even what I wanted to say. How could you just assume something? And at that point of time, I realized that yes, as parents, we think we know a lot. But the generation today is different. They're so resilient. They're so full of grit. And they do make their mistakes. They're young. But children, at the same time, you all should also know that, you need good friends. It seems for tomatoes to grow well, the farmers grow marigolds by the side of them. because those marigolds, it seems the scent of those marigolds repels insects. So you need to have the right set of friends. And you also need to know that we as parents always have your best interests at heart. And we're dealing with it for the first time here. We never had teenagers before. It's always a first time for a parent, right? So we are also learning. So there has to be that understanding from both sides. But from a parent's perspective, and if there are any parents listening today, we need to be able to swallow the frustrations of our children. And I think came across a very nice acronym, that is EQUIP. So EQUIP, the E is for encouraging our children, giving them certain privileges, asking for their help sometimes, because you youngsters, I don't know which generation, you all know so much, and there's so much that you can teach us. So that's the encourage. Spending quality time with our children. So that quality time starts from when you are small, because now when you are grown up, you don't want to spend quality time with your parents. You have quality time to spend with your friends, right? And suppose we are cooking together, I want to ask many questions about life. And at that point of time, our children says, just forget it. This was just a ploy. That quality time that you're talking about was a nice excuse for you to find out more and more about my life. So be very careful with that, quality time. The U is understanding. And that understanding, it's not only from us as parents towards our children, it's also from children towards us. And I was so happy to hear Nehal say that our parents love us. We do love you. So understand from where we are coming. The I is the investment. We invest so much of time in our children, especially when they are young, in terms of, forget about the money. The money is the easiest part of it. The time, the effort, taking you all for this class, that class. And slowly as parents, when you all grow up, we kind of miss out on that, because we feel now they are set, now they are old enough. And sometimes children also push parents away because they don't really want to spend time. So we as parents need to invest time. And that P is the physical touch. When our children are small, we used to hug you all, right? Hug you all, play with your hair, pull your cheeks. And now slowly we don't do it, maybe because you people also repel, the moment we come there. You're like, no, mom, not in front of my friends, not here. But as parents, we need to keep that going. And that equip is to equip ourselves to deal with our children. That equip is to tell y'all as children that we are there at all points of time. And while you learn from us, so we have to be the role models. At the same time, children, I want to say to all children, youngsters, youngsters, I want to say to all of y'all that we are learning from y'all as well. And as parents, if we are trying to maybe tell you all something, I know y'all are going to say, y'all know what I'm going to say, that it's for your good. But really, it's for your good, because we think that we have learned over a period of time. But at the same time, as parents, we need to give you all that space, respect you all, understand you all, and this whole complex business of relationships gets better. I know I have been, mine is a 25-year-old now, but the teens were terrible. I've heard about a terrible twos, but these were the terrible, terrible teenage years that I have gone through. Where one fine day, my son just didn't come home. And we were just going crazy. I can't tell you the places that I went searching. And I didn't think of looking in the garden. And he was just sitting on a bench. And I asked him, what is it? And he said, I was so afraid to come home because I knew that you all were going to yell. And I just brought him home. And my husband was wild. Let me tell you, frankly, my husband was mad. But I just put my arms around him and I told him, no matter what, I'm there for you. And we'll handle this together. Those teenage years have passed. There's a more mature 25-year-old today. And I'm grateful for all the difficulties that we have gone through, because today when I'm able to talk to a parent, because sometimes parents face the same difficulties. I'm able to talk from a position of having been there. So, children, again, as I've said, whenever things get difficult, sometimes you need to put yourself in another shoe. I know your mind is all messed up. It's like that crazy cords that just get entangled. But with patience and understanding and love, those cords get untangled, and there's a beautiful relationship that is waiting. I know, I've been there.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a very beautiful explanation of the question that I just asked. Okay, so moving on to Snehal. So let us link what ma'am said, like social medias. They did not know. So Snehal, as a young generation kid, you would know a lot about social media. So do you really think that social media impacts relationship?
Uh, Thank you, Bila, for that question. I think yes, yes, matlab, it does impact a relationship, but it's like both negatively and positively. You know, sometimes because of social media, there is a lack of communication in person. Matlab, if even if we do video call and Zoom meeting and everything, but there is something else, you know, सामने सामने बात करने का. So social media can sometimes make lack in person communication. And even during pandemic, there nowadays all the meetings are held online and it's not possible to meet at all to someone. So everything is online, everything is on social media. Sometimes there are possibility of miscommunication and misunderstandings, you know, which lead to mental health. You know what happens, sometimes if I text my boyfriend or my partner something about something, and he is busy in his college or office ka thing, and he does not reply me, so it hurts, you know, it feels like he's ignoring me. So it can be intentionally or unintentionally, but it hurts. Also, there is a point of jealousy and possessiveness because of social media. Like, if I see, like, if I'm giving my example, if I see my boyfriend commenting on someone else's picture and then liking her picture and everything, so it's like I get a little jealous कि वो उसका picture क्यों like कर रहा है और उसके comment उसको comment क्यों कर रहा है and everything. Also possessiveness, uh, you know, social media may we can't see to whom your partner is texting. Maybe it's his ex or anything. I don't think कि मतलब कोई अपने ex को text करता रहेगा, but still it's like you get a little possessive कि क्या पता मेरा पार्टनर किसी और को टेक्स्ट कर रहा होगा ऑनलाइन हो गया एंड मेरा रिप्लाई नहीं दे रहा है एंड वैसा. इट इट कॉज प्रॉब्लम्स एंड दैट प्रॉब्लम्स कैन नॉट बी सॉल्व ऑनलाइन. उस वजह से ना पार्टनर के बीच में झगड़े हो सकते. ऑल्सो when whatever we see on social media is not the reality. I think Ratin said about insecurities, right? तो हम एक दूसरे को देखते हैं and then we feel like कि oh my god, she's perfect, why can't I be perfect? So on social media everything is not reality. That things hurt us also. ये सब चीजें ना हमारे रिलेशनशिप को इम्पैक्ट करती है. दीज आर नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट्स ऑल्सो, बट देर आर ऑल्सो पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट्स जो हमारे रिलेशनशिप को दोनों साइड से हेल्दी बनाएंगे इफ वी फोकस ऑन दैट. यू नो, सोशल मीडिया हेल्प अस टू कनेक्ट, दैट वी ऑलरेडी नो, such as talking with each other about your insecurities and informing each other if you are busy so that I will not wait for his reply. Also, I think uh, if your relationship is ever get if your relationship ever got affected because of these negative impacts, you don't have to ban social media from your life, you know. You just need some awareness, communication, and a little bit boundaries to change that impact from negative to positive. That's it. I think that's uh, that's the impact of social media on our relationship.
Thank you so much, Snehal. It was really beautiful. So moving on to Natasha, ma'am. Ma'am, on a mental perspective, does the brain of a young adult between 18 and 24 years old work differently than the brain of an adult? Does biology play a role in the way we form and manage relationships? Ma'am, and you're mute. You're on mute. Yeah.
सॉरी या दैट्स सच एन इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन। मेरे दिमाग में पता है वो गाना आ रहा है, प्यार हुआ इकरार हुआ फिर प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल। आपको पता है प्यार क्या है एक्चुअली हमारे अंदर? हम बोलते हैं ना एक केमिस्ट्री है, इन दोनों के बीच एक केमिस्ट्री है, एक केमिकल रिएक्शन है, एक स्पार्क है। तो वो स्पार्क है क्या, मैं आपको एक दिखाती हूँ। देखिए क्या है वो स्पार्क। प्यार हुआ इकरार हुआ फिर प्यार से क्यों डरता है दिल, क्योंकि कुछ नया है, कुछ नया हमको एक्सेप्ट करना है, कुछ हमारे से बाहर का कुछ नया हमको अंदर आ रहा है। सो ब्रेन इज अनफेमिलियर अबाउट इट, बट एनीवेज डरता है और डर के आगे जीत है, तो हम आगे जाते हैं नो मैटर व्हाट, और वो पजल्स हम लोग जोड़ देते हैं। सो बेसिकली हमारे अंदर ये न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स है, देयर आर केमिकल्स। Please understand, students and parents and all my dear colleagues, that there are chemicals in the brain, and those chemicals respond not just to the other person, but also depending on which age you are at, right? So basically, ये है आपका love. This is love. That's it. If you ask a neuroscientist, this is love. Nothing to be discussed, nothing to be. So there are some chemicals like serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin. I'll stop sharing now. So these chemicals, they get released. मैं एक simple chemical आपको बताती हूँ, oxytocin, जो love hormone है या love chemical भी उसको हम बोलते हैं। अब लव हम सोचते हैं तो हमारी उम्र में हमको लव सिर्फ वही याद आता है कि सामने वाले के साथ लव। अब मेरी उम्र में मुझे एक छोटा बच्चा भी दिखता है, लाइक आई फील ओके। सो व्हेन अ चाइल्ड इज हगिंग हिज मदर, लाइक मिल्ड्रेड मैम सेड, हाउ व्हेन वी वर स्मॉल वी यूज्ड टू हग यू गाइस एंड यू वर ओके विद दैट एंड यूज्ड टू रेसिप्रोकेट। सो दिस ऑक्सीटोसिन एक्चुअली improves or enhances the trust between us. So why a mother and a child are so thick, no matter what, baat bhi nahi karte to bhi they are together like this, because the child has been so much in touch with the mother, inside the mother for so many months, and outside the mother has always held the child. So that bond is just so deep. So oxytocin is that chemical which gets released when we are in a new or a older relationship also, right? So when we come closer to each other, then there are chemicals like serotonin, there are chemicals like dopamine that get released. Now what do these chemicals do? These chemicals are reward related chemicals, pleasure related chemicals. There are chemicals that regulate, serotonin is a chemical especially that regulates our mood. So anytime when we are in a relationship और ये सारे neurotransmitters अगर release हो रहे हैं, these are feel good hormones if we call them, if they are releasing, we feel really nice about them and we want to continue. And no matter what, like Mildred ma'am said, अगर मैं, even if I want to stop my son or my daughter or my children, if we tell you this is not your age, but you will still go for it because in your brain this is a rewarding system, you're getting something, feel good about it. Okay, but at this point I want you to remember, I won't elaborate much because we may not have so much time on it, this is a very deep subject. I want you to remember this, these chemicals are not coming from outside, especially my dear children, these chemicals are within you. Somebody is just, or some situations are just a happy trigger for it. It's like somebody is being a mirror to you, but hai wo aapka hi. So don't worry if koi dur ja raha hai, loss ho raha hai. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because somewhere breakups are also there in the mind. The problem is we suffer a lot because, like Nehal said earlier, social media ke healthy or unhealthy ये भी है consequences है. इसमें से एक unhealthy consequence ये होता है कि हम जो चीज impermanent है उसको permanent मान लेते हैं. And then that creates a whole ruckus in our mind. Now, please understand, when breakups happen, the constant supply of serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin means rewards, appreciation, mood motivation, the connection, the bonding that you were feeling with the other person, the release of love, that bubbly feeling, the butterflies in the stomach, wo jo aa rahe the, when that person just detaches from you, it goes away. We go into a withdrawal. Suddenly the source is within us, but because the trigger is gone away, it stops. We go into a withdrawal. That's where we start stalking the other person. Somehow, कुछ भी करके इसको मेरी जिंदगी में वापस लाना है. तू मेरा है, मेरा ही रहेगा. मैं तेरी हूँ, तेरी ही रहूंगी. Also, why? because we feel somewhere that because of this person that association has happened, so yehi person. But again, I will repeat, it is nothing to do just with that person. Of course that person is special, they have triggered that special feeling, they've been helpful in your life, but understand there is a lot of chemical reaction that goes on. Now at your age, please, my dear children, I will tell you, just specifically, if we talk about this age, this is a young adult age group of 18 years old to 24 years old. Okay, the brain is still not developed, it's not still a baby also, but it's a young adult age wherein the changes that are rapidly happening, your development is not complete, especially at the cognitive level, the development is not complete. So the system which is involved in consequential understanding, key, like looking at the bigger picture, which is the prefrontal cortex over here, it is not completely developed. There is a lot of chemistry in this, lot of neuroscience in this, so not getting into it, just basic, it's not developed. When this is not developed, the executive functioning, which is differentiating very clearly between the right and wrong, it's not come in yet. Then planning ahead for the future, there will be confusion, your own personality is developing, so many changes are happening. So that's how, when Mildred ma'am said, that it's so nice when our kids come to us, or when she said that how we the generation, the older generation, the boomers, the zoomers, I don't know, even I am so like unaware of these terms, but still I try to keep in touch. So we can learn so much from each other. So it's a good idea, my dear children, to have that guidance in your life, to trust onto your parents, because ultimately, yes, love is a chemical reaction. है, सब है, spiritual connection है, ये भी है, वो भी है, but biology plays a very, very, very important role. So if you're feeling stuck somewhere, please do come and approach and talk to somebody, and somebody who's been through it. They will know better ways of tolerance, better ways of getting over it. There are also ways of getting over the breakup, but I think I'll not talk about it right now. We have a very esteemed guest amidst us. So Beulah, I'll hand it over to you. If there's any other questions about this, I'll take it at the end of the session. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for putting light on the science part of relationships. Finally. So yeah, my next question goes to Ratan. So sorry for hitting you where it hurts, but what's your stand on dealing with breakups? Do you feel they're an integral part of relationships today?
Thank you for asking that question only to me and not anyone else, Beulah. But yeah, to answer your question, a breakup really completes a relationship. If a relationship is a circle, a breakup is where that circle ends. And I feel they are definitely a very important part of a relationship. It's something that's unavoidable. It's something that happens to us all. And for me personally, being a person who has limited to no access to alcohol and someone who doesn't particularly enjoy music of Arijit Singh, getting over a breakup hasn't come easy. It's been difficult. Although some things that have really helped me is just trusting trusting the power of time. We have heard this everywhere. Pretty much every other social media page puts this quote someday or the other, that time heals everything. And it couldn't be, a statement couldn't be more true than this. Time does really heal everything, whether it's a physical, mental, or an emotional wound. Time really does help everything. So it's just trusting the process of time. That's what will probably help you detach from someone. And we also must remember that during the tenure of a relationship, we often tend to make it such a huge part of our lives that often entire our entire daily schedule or our entire personality for the time being is all dependent on a single relationship. So you pretty much forget who you actually were before that relationship. So I guess it's just about acknowledging that you are a person with your own goals, achievements, hobbies, and it's about time that you start exploring them. You start reminding yourself of, all the other things that you want to do in your life, and stop basing it all on a relationship. Again, it's easier said than done, and it's just something that you can master while going through it. So I mean, I encourage everyone here to break up. Not the teachers who are married, but everyone my age should go through this, I feel. once during the lifetime. I mean, if you don't, I'm more than happy for you. But it's something that's so unavoidable, and we often get scared to enter a relationship just because of the fear of breakup. So I feel we shouldn't really do that, because then you're missing out on a very beautiful part of life. So that's what I feel about breakups. I won't be diving into too much detail about how one can get over, because it's really so subjective. There are different ways that people like to explore, and I would say, just as long as you aren't physically, mentally, or emotionally hurting yourself, your way of getting over a breakup is the perfect way. That's the end of my stance. Thanks, Beulah.
Amazing, Ratan. It was really nice. So yeah, we have a very esteemed guest now in our presence. That is Anagha ma'am. So welcome ma'am to our session. So let me start with your introduction. So Miss
Can
Anagha,
we have Anaga ma'am in the highlight, please?
okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am. So, Ms. Anagha Sadavase ma'am is a lady officer who started as sub-inspector in the batch of 1996. She has completed her 25 years of service, and currently she is an inspector and has won more than 100 awards and recognition under her name. She has worked with several branches, right from crime branch to anti-terrorist squad in the police department. She has received lots of appreciation for solving complicated and undetected cases. She has also been an advocate for women child safety as much as she is an advocate for the law. Since 8th March, for the last 2 years, she has been receiving appreciation from the Commissioner of Police for her work. Also, she has played the role of mediator among the public during the corona times out of social human responsibility, and she has actively participated, like arranging for oxygen and hospital beds, not just as a police officer but as a citizen and human being. So we welcome you ma'am to our session, and I would like to Natasha ma'am to take over the session from here. Thank you.
Hi Anaga ma'am, so happy to see you. बहुत दिनों बाद मैंने आपको देखा, but very happy to see you. Anaga ma'am and the counseling center has worked quite closely जब Anaga ma'am was posted at Powai police station, and she's been great help. पहले भी for the college Anaga ma'am has come to us, and she's very beautifully facilitated police Didi programs, wherein about drug awareness programs, about relationship awareness programs. So I thought Anaga ma'am से better कौन होगा personal to come and talk to our स्टूडेंट्स. मैम बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस है बच्चों के, कुछ सिनारियो के तरह से मैं प्रेजेंट करती हूँ आपके सामने. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल जब बच्चे आते हैं, कभी कभी कुछ ऐसे केसेस दैट दे कम इन फ्रंट ऑफ अस वेयरइन देयर इज अ गर्ल एंड देयर इज अ बॉय, और अभी रिलेशनशिप ऑलमोस्ट खत्म होने आ गया या बहुत अब्यूजिव हो गया है, और लड़का लड़की को थप्पड़ मारता है, मोबाइल फोन छीन लेता है. So the girl comes to us and she complains, but whenever we say कि पुलिस के पास जाना पड़ेगा बेटा, because we have to go the legal way, एक तो आप अंडर एज भी हो और गार्डियन को इन्वॉल्व करना पड़ेगा, तो पेरेंट्स भी बहुत बार डरते हैं मैम, या बच्चे बहुत बार डरते हैं. तो मैम ऐसे सिचुएशन में आप क्या सोल्यूशन दे सकते हैं, क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि आपका इन्वॉल्वमेंट से कम सामने का जो अब्यूज है वो तो कम होगा. सो आप क्या एक एडवाइस दे सकते हो बच्चों के लिए?
देखिए, कॉलेज के जो स्टूडेंट है वो क्रिमिनल नहीं है. पहले तो अगर हमारे यहाँ पुलिस स्टेशन में आते हो तो हम पहले साइकोलॉजिकली हम समझते हैं कि केस क्या है. अगर पेरेंट्स आते हैं, कॉलेज के स्टूडेंट्स है, और उनका अगर कोई केस रिलेटेड कोई केस आता है तो हम उसे थोड़ा अलग देखते हैं. डायरेक्ट हम वहां पर केस रजिस्टर करते नहीं है. पहले तो काउंसलिंग करते हैं कि क्या प्रॉब्लम है. अगर मोबाइल लिया है, बच्चा जो है फर्स्ट टाइम हुआ है, उसके पेरेंट्स आए हैं और वो एश्योरेंस देते हैं कि हम ऐसा नहीं करेंगे, तो फिर उस तरीके से हम केस को हैंडल करते हैं. अगर लड़का जो है कि उसका बैकग्राउंड देखा जाए, या कोई और केसेस क्रिमिनल केसेस है, मतलब लड़की माइनर है और लड़का मेजर है, आउटसाइडर है, कॉलेज के बाहर का है और वो लड़की को तंग कर रहा है, तो फिर हम उसको दूसरे तरीके से हैंडल करते हैं. तो सिचुएशन जिस तरीके से होगी, जैसे हमारे पास अप्रोच होते हैं, उनकी डिमांड क्या है, वो क्या चाहते हैं, वो हमारे लिए बहुत जरूरी है. ये एक बात होती है. और दूसरी बात ये भी हम समझते हैं कि अगर हमने इसे सिर्फ एक बार उसको बताया कि आगे से ऐसा नहीं करना है, उसको एक बार हमने बता दिया और वो समझने वाला है, तो उसको उस तरीके से हैंडल करते हैं. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल कि हम उसका बैकग्राउंड समझ के लेते हैं और केस स्टडी करते हैं कि किस तरीके से इसे हैंडल करना है.
मैम सॉरी, थैंक यू अनका मैम। बहुत सेंसिटिवली मुझे लगता है कि ये हैंडल होते हैं ये वाले केसेस, जैसे आप बता रहे हैं। तो जैसे बच्चे डरते हैं या पेरेंट्स भी डरते हैं कि हम एकदम जाएंगे और इसका करियर खराब हो जाएगा, तो ये डरना नहीं चाहिए। मुझे लगता है एक सेंसिटिवली पुलिस रियली रियली हैंडल्स इट। सो दैट्स अ ग्रेट मैसेज टू सेंड अक्रॉस, दैट पुलिस इज आवर फ्रेंड and law is here to protect us, not complicate things for us. And I have seen this, मेरे खुद की आंखों से कई केसेस अनघा मैम ने हमारे सामने बहुत प्यार से डील करके उसको खत्म किया है। So मैं बोलती हूँ अगर कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, प्लीज गो अहेड, कॉन्टैक्ट द राइट पर्सन। सो ऑल राइट। एंड अनघा मैम, अभी जैसे कभी ऐसे होता है कि पेरेंट्स, बहुत बार स्टिग्मा होता है उनके मन में कि हमारे बच्ची का नाम खराब हो जाएगा या कुछ, तो वो स्टिग्मा की वजह से पेरेंट्स भी यू नो दे रेजिस्ट करते हैं कि नहीं जाना है पुलिस स्टेशन में या कुछ ऐसा करके। तो वो पेरेंट्स के लिए आप क्या मैसेज देना चाहेंगे? क्योंकि लड़की भुगतती रहे वो चलेगा उनको, लेकिन वो ना खुद इंटरफेयर करेंगे ना वो पुलिस का हेल्प लेना चाहेंगे। तो आपका क्या संदेश है उनके लिए?
तो पहली बात तो ये है ना कि जब पेरेंट्स को पता चलता है कि मेरे बेटी के साथ, मेरे बेटे के साथ कुछ अनवांटेड हो रहा है, कॉलेज में है, स्कूल में है, छोटी बच्ची है, अलग अलग क्राइटेरिया है। अगर छोटी बच्ची के साथ, आपके छोटे बच्चे के साथ में अगर कुछ ऐसा प्रॉब्लम है, तो आप ना चुप बैठिए। कि क्योंकि बहुत बार ऐसा देखा गया है कि फैमिली में ही कोई है जो अपने छोटे बच्चों के साथ में प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट कर रहा है, या बाजू वाला है, रिलेटिव है, कोई भी है, लेकिन उसको वहीं पर स्टॉप करना बहुत जरूरी होता है। हम क्या करते हैं कि हम थोड़े झिझक जाते हैं, पेरेंट्स जो है जल्दी से बाहर नहीं आते, बोलते नहीं है। तो आपने पहली बात तो ये कि आपने अपने बच्चे का फ्यूचर देखना चाहिए कि अगर मैंने ये बात को टाला या मैंने इसको अवॉइड किया, तो मेरे बच्चे की मेंटली हेल्थ के ऊपर, मेंटल जो वो जो सोच रहा है, वो जो समझ रहा है, उसके ऊपर उसका क्या प्रभाव पड़ेगा, क्या वो सोचेगा। यही सिचुएशन में अगर वो बड़ा होते गया, तो फिर आगे उसकी जो मेंटल डेवलपमेंट है उसके ऊपर उसका बहुत बुरा असर हो जाएगा। ये पहली बात है। दूसरी बात ये है कि अगर आप पुलिस स्टेशन में आते हैं, अगर आपका बच्चा बड़ा है, 18 अबाव है, या फिर 18 की बिलो भी 18 है, तब भी आप अगर पुलिस स्टेशन में आते हैं, तो बहुत बार क्या है, हमारे दिमाग में है कि अगर हमने केस किया तो ये केस बहुत सालों तक चलेगा, 5 साल 6 साल, तब तक हमारे बच्चे बड़े हो जाते हैं, फिर उनको बार बार कोर्ट आना पड़ता है। तो ये सब जो है, ये बहुत पहले का सिनेरियो था। अभी ये सब चेंज हुआ है। अभी जो है फास्ट ट्रैक कोर्ट चला है। यहाँ पर अब आप आएंगे तो पहले तो आपको लेडी ऑफिसर, हर पुलिस स्टेशन में लेडी ऑफिसर मिलेगी, जो आपको आपके साथ आपके केस को हैंडल करेगी। उसके बाद में जितने जल्दी हो वो केस का चार्जशीट हो जो तैयार होके विदिन अ लिमिट 1 मंथ 2 मंथ्स, अभी तो हमें लिमिटेशंस दिया है, तो उसी में हम कोर्ट में सबमिट करते हैं, और फास्ट ट्रैक पे ये केस विदिन अ 1 ईयर अभी जो है वो उसका फाइनल डिसीजन जो है वो हो जाता है। तो ये हम पेरेंट्स जो है कि एक बार ये भी दिमाग में बैठ गया है बहुत से पेरेंट्स के कि बहुत टाइम लगेगा, हमें बार बार कोर्ट जाना पड़ेगा, हमें बार बार पुलिस स्टेशन जाना पड़ेगा, हमें बार बार वहां पर वही लड़की को वही सवाल बार बार पूछे पड़ेंगे, वही सवाल का जवाब देना पड़ेगा। तो वो अवॉइड करते हैं पुलिस स्टेशन में आने के लिए, कंप्लेंट करने के लिए। तो अभी ये जो है वो सब चेंज हो चुका है, और फास्ट ट्रैक के ऊपर ये 2 साल में ये केस जो है वो क्लियर हो जाता है। तो ये आप समझ लीजिए कि अभी वो 5 साल 6 साल वाला वो क्राइटेरिया नहीं है, वो जल्दी इसमें रिजल्ट आ जाते हैं, और पॉजिटिव रिजल्ट आ जाते हैं इसमें।
करेक्ट करेक्ट मैम, थैंक यू। सो ये जब केस हो, और नहीं तो पुलिस हमेशा ट्राई करता है कि पहले सेंसिटिवली मैटर क्या है, बैकग्राउंड क्या है, सब चेक करके चीज को रिजॉल्व करना है। सो दैट इज गुड। मैम मैं एक और चीज आपसे पूछती हूँ, जैसे हमारे सामने कोई अब्यूज हो रहा है, भले वो कपल के बीच में हो रहा हो या नेबर में मेरे अब्यूज हो रहा हो, मारपीट हो रहा हो, या मैं देख रही हूँ कि मेरे फ्रेंड के जो एक कपल फ्रेंड है उन वो आपस में उनका बहुत अब्यूज हो रहा है, तो हो सकता है कि एक पार्टनर में उतना हिम्मत नहीं हो जाके हेल्प लेने के लिए, तो एज एन इन्फॉर्मर कैन आई अप्रोच द पुलिस? इज इट पॉसिबल? यस मैम।
I don't think she heard you,
Lost some
Natasha.
network. Anaga ma'am, I think we lost
I guess,
ma'am
yeah, some network issue.
Yeah. We just give it a minute, probably ma'am will join in. Can somebody just get in touch with her?
Ma'am has joined but without the audio, so
Oh,
I
okay.
can see. Yeah.
She's here.
Meet the co-host. Okay, yeah, done.
Yeah. Anaka ma'am, can you hear us now? Ma'am, you're on mute. Ma'am, you're on mute.
मैम हम लोग आपको सुन नहीं पा
हाँ
रहे
जी,
हैं।
हाँ जी,
हाँ
हाँ बोलिए, फिर से रिपीट कीजिए, मैंने
Yes,
सुना नहीं।
या हाँ, मेरा प्रश्न ये था मैम कि जैसे अभी हमारे कॉलेज में भी ऐसे बहुत बार आता है कि मैम ये मेरे दोस्त है, 2 दोस्त है, आपस में ये मारपीट करते हैं, लड़का लड़की जो भी है, तो आपस में ये मारपीट करते हैं और एक को बोलना है लेकिन हिम्मत नहीं हो रही है, या उसमें से निकलना है, हिम्मत नहीं हो रही है, एक ब्लैकमेल कर रहा है और इंटरनेट पे फोटोज डालने की धमकी दे रहा है या कुछ ऐसा, तो एज अ थर्ड पर्सन मैं इन्फॉर्म कर सकती हूँ या कर सकता हूँ पुलिस को? ये क्वेश्चन आया है। मैम सुनाई दिया आपको? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're
Yes,
audible,
ma'am.
but ma'am is on mute.
Okay. Should we write in chat box for ma'am?
She left the meeting.
Maybe she'll rejoin.
Okay, she'll rejoin.
Meanwhile, if anyone has any questions or any pointers they'd like to discuss, feel free to put them all in the chat box and we'll take them after Anaga ma'am is done.
Tanishk has a question. He said, even though people have achieved a lot, they are looked down upon when they marry people the wrong age. Who tells us it is the right and the wrong time? I am having a tough time understanding this question.
Tanishk, if you want to unmute, please feel free to sort of
or
discuss
if you
this question a bit more.
Yeah, if you could rewrite it with a little clarity or some.
Natasha ma'am, Anaga ma'am is joined.
She's joined. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
हेलो,
Anaga ma'am, hi.
हाँ जी, हाँ जी,
ओके, तो मैम मैं पूछ रही थी आपसे कि जैसे कभी बच्चे आते हैं, बोलते हैं कि हमारे ग्रुप में एक लड़का लड़की है, रिलेशनशिप में है, ये लोग आपस में मारपीट करते हैं या गाली गलौज होती है, या फिर वो लड़का धमकी देता है, लड़की धमकी देती है कि आपका फोटोज इंटरनेट पे डाल देंगे, या मैं सुसाइड कर लूंगी या सुसाइड कर लूंगा, ऐसे टाइप। तो मैं तीसरा पर्सन होने के नाते क्या मैं इन्फॉर्मर की तरह पुलिस के पास आ सकती हूँ, हेल्प ले सकती हूँ, या मेरे नेबर में हो रहा है झगड़ा ऐसा, तो ऐसे सिचुएशन में क्या करना चाहिए?
हाँ, अगर आप देखते हो कि आपके आजू बाजू में, नेबर में या अपने कॉलेज में या अपने कलीग में ऐसा कुछ डिस्प्यूट हो रहा है और फ्यूचर में इसका जो भी परिणाम है वो बहुत बुरा होने वाला है, या कुछ भी है, आप डिस्टर्ब हो, तो आप तुरंत फोन करके बता सकते हैं, पुलिस स्टेशन को इन्फॉर्म कर सकते हैं। अगर आप चाहते हैं कि आपका नाम कहीं पर नहीं आए, तो आप उस तरीके से आप बता भी सकते हैं पुलिस को कि मैं जस्ट इन्फॉर्म कर रहा हूँ, लेकिन आप मुझे पिक्चर में मत लाइए, मुझे मत बताइए। अगर आप कहीं और कुछ देख रहे हो तो आप 100 नंबर पे भी फोन कर सकते हैं, या 103, ये महिलाओं के लिए स्पेशल अभी जो है फोन, उसके ऊपर भी आपको फोन कर सकते हो। और अभी लेटेस्ट निर्भया स्क्वाड जो तैयार किया हुआ है, तो वो अभी हर पुलिस स्टेशन में निर्भया स्क्वाड एक्टिव है, और वहां पर एक हमारी कार है, वो कार के लिए भी अभी मोबाइल नंबर, हर पुलिस स्टेशन में निर्भया कार के लिए एक मोबाइल नंबर क्रिएट किया गया है और सभी को मोबाइल नंबर दिया गया है। तो निर्भया स्क्वाड जो है अभी कॉलेज में और स्कूल्स में आके उनका मोबाइल नंबर देके जाएंगे आपके यहाँ पे, आप वो मोबाइल के ऊपर फोन करके उससे भी आप कांटेक्ट करके आपका जो प्रॉब्लम है उनसे आप शेयर कर सकते हैं।
थैंक यू मैम, थैंक यू। आई थिंक ये बहुत जरूरी है कि हेल्पलाइन नंबर्स हमें मालूम होने चाहिए, याद होने चाहिए, क्योंकि कभी भी इमरजेंसी हो सकती है। मैम एक और मेरा क्वेश्चन है आपसे कि कोई स्टॉकिंग केस है, सपोज पार्टनर ए स्टॉक कर रहा है पार्टनर बी को, और वो बोलता है कि मैं सुसाइड कर लूंगा अगर तुम मुझे नहीं मिली तो, या उस टाइप के धमकी देता है, या इंटरनेट पे जाके उनके फेसबुक के वॉल पे या इंस्टाग्राम पे जाके ऐसे डालता है कि यू आर द रीजन दैट आई विल डाई, यू आर द रीजन फॉर माई सैडनेस। तो कोई सजेशन है ये टाइम पे क्या करना चाहिए मैम? कैसे पार्टनर बी ने हैंडल करना चाहिए ऐसा सिचुएशन, ये सुसाइड वाला जो थ्रेट का सिचुएशन आता है?
अभी इस तरीके के केसेस हमारे यहाँ पे अक्सर आते हैं कि जब वो रिलेशनशिप में होते तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, लेकिन दो में से एक जो है वो अगर उसमें से रिलेशनशिप में से बाहर निकलता है तो दूसरा जो है वो इतना इन्वॉल्व होता है कि उसको ये सब वो नहीं सहन कर पाता, और फिर वो मेंटली प्रेशर में आके वो ये सब फिर शुरू कर देता है, जिसके वजह से वो जो सामने वाला जो अपोनेंट है, लड़का है लड़की है कोई भी है, उसको फिर वो सफर करना पड़ता है, क्योंकि अचानक रिलेशन एक ने ब्रेक किया है और दूसरा उसमें इन्वॉल्व है। तो ये केस हमारे यहाँ बहुत सारी बार आते हैं, जो रिलेशनशिप में, इवन छोटे बच्चों के, कॉलेज के ही नहीं, बड़े लोगों में भी ये प्रॉब्लम देखा गया है। लिव इन रिलेशन में बड़े लोगों में भी ये प्रॉब्लम है, और इस तरीके से धमकी देने के बाद में वो पुलिस स्टेशन में आते हैं हमारे यहाँ पे हेल्प मांगने के लिए, तो हम उसमें भी काउंसलिंग ही करते हैं, दोनों को बुला के लेते हैं, उनको काउंसलिंग करते हैं, उनसे बात करते हैं, उनके अगर छोटे बच्चे हैं तो उनको पेरेंट्स को बुलाते हैं, उनसे बात करके उनको बताते हैं कि लाइफ दो तरीके हैं, उसे हर जगह पे दो क्राइटेरिया है कि सामने जो है जिनका जो प्रॉब्लम है वो किस तरीके से सॉल्व करना है, वो इमीडिएटली हम समझ के लेते हैं। क्राइम, उसके लिए क्राइम बैकग्राउंड है या ये फर्स्ट फ्रेश है, इनोसेंट है, जो बता के काउंसलिंग करके ये अलग हो सकता है। इसमें केस रजिस्टर होती है। अगर वो जो लड़का है या लड़की है, लड़का ही मोस्टली लड़का है, तो अगर वो ज्यादा वायलेंट हो रहा है, वो सुनता नहीं है, या कि उससे वो लड़की के लिए कुछ हार्मफुल वो कुछ करेगा, तो इसके लिए फिर हम स्टॉकिंग का केस रजिस्टर करते हैं, और उसमें फिर वो लड़के को हम अरेस्ट करते हैं। अरेस्ट भी हम कभी कभी देख के, अगर FIR रजिस्टर हुआ है और उसको बताते हैं, उसके पेरेंट्स को बताते हैं, और उसको फिर उसके बाद में अरेस्ट करके कोर्ट में हम उसको खड़ा कर देते हैं। लेकिन उसमें भी हम समझ के लेते हैं कि क्या सिचुएशन है, क्या होने वाला है, कैसे हो रहा है। अगर वो वायलेंट है तो हम उसमें जरा भी आगे पीछे नहीं देखते, हम तुरंत केस रजिस्टर कर लेते हैं उसमें।
करेक्ट मैम, वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इन्फॉर्मेशन देयर। मैम एक क्वेश्चन आया है कि ईव टीजिंग के लिए भी 103 पे कॉल कर सकते हैं डायरेक्टली, है ना?
यस, क्योंकि 103 पे फोन करने से, अगर ईव टीजिंग है, अगर आप रोड पे हो, आप कहीं पर जा रहे हो या कॉलेज में हो, कहीं पर भी हो और वहां पर हो, तो अभी निर्भया पथक और हमारी जो 103 का जो फैसिलिटी दी है, वो जो कार है, वो 24 आवर्स आपके आजू बाजू में ही, पुलिस स्टेशन जहां पर आप हो आजू बाजू में ही वो कार होगी। आपका फोन 103 का फोन वो कार एक्सेप्ट करेगी, वो वहां पर तुरंत आपके पास 15 से 20, ज्यादा से ज्यादा 10-15 मिनट में वो आपके पास आनी ही चाहिए। अगर उनको दूसरा कोई कॉल होगा तो फिर वो कॉल अटेंड कर रही होगी तो ही आपके पास उनको आने के लिए टाइम होगा। अदरवाइज 103 निर्भया स्क्वाड अभी जो मोबाइल प्रोवाइड किए गए हैं, उससे ये है कि इमीडिएटली विद इन 10 मिनट्स या 15 मिनट्स में आपके पास पहुंचने चाहिए। तो आप 103 पे फोन करेंगे तो आपके पास विद इन 15 मिनट्स में कार आ जाएगी।
परफेक्ट। और ये मैंने एग्जांपल देखा है क्योंकि 2 सिचुएशन में ऐसे मैंने भी किया है और सही में इमीडिएटली पुलिस हैज कम। आई मीन दिस इज अ वेरी बिग थिंग, चेंज जो मैंने भी नोटिस किया है। और 103 से, सो इनफैक्ट 100 नंबर से भी आ जाते हैं। बहुत ही अमेजिंग चेंज इसमें है। अच्छा मैम, एक क्वेश्चन आया है कि अगर जैसे अभी ये सब लॉज है तो बोलते हैं कि अगर गर्ल्स कभी एडवांटेज ले इस सिचुएशन का कि तेरे को मैं फंसाती हूँ, तेरा करियर खराब करूंगी, या ऐसा कुछ कभी कभी हो जाता है रिवेंज के तरीके से, तो तब कैसे पुलिस ये हैंडल करती है?
हाँ, तो ये भी सही है कि डिसएडवांटेज लिया जाता है। तो इसमें हम केस रजिस्टर करने की टाइम है, लड़की ने उतने एलिगेशन, सीरियस एलिगेशन दिए तो हम केस रजिस्टर करते हैं। उसमें हम इन्वेस्टिगेशन करके, अगर मतलब जब लड़की बताती है तभी हमें पता, अभी मेरे पास अभी फिलहाल एट प्रेजेंट एक केस है। हाँ, वो केस में वो लड़की का रजिस्ट्रेशन केस कहीं और हुआ था, रजिस्ट्रेशन हुआ और बाद में वो मेरे पास यहाँ पर दूसरे पुलिस स्टेशन से यहाँ पर ट्रांसफर होके आया है, एट प्रेजेंट मेरे पास है। वो केस में जो लड़की का स्टेटमेंट है, वो स्टेटमेंट जब पढ़ते हैं, जब वो बताती है, उसी में पता चल जाता है कि इसमें कुछ तो गड़बड़ है, नेचुरल प्रोसेस नहीं दिख रही है। तो हम क्या करते हैं, ये टाइम पे हम अरेस्ट नहीं करते हैं, वो जो सामने वाला लड़का है कोई भी है उसको अरेस्ट नहीं करते, इन्वेस्टिगेशन करते हैं और हम उसे क्लासिफाई करते हैं। ये गलत सोच है कि हम चार्जशीट डालते हैं, उसको जेल में डालते हैं, उसके ऊपर केस चलता है, वो नहीं करते हैं। बहुत चेंजेस अभी आ गए हैं कि ये केस में। अभी एक नया जो लॉ आ रहा है, शक्ति लॉ जो आ रहा है, उसमें भी अगर मालूम पड़ गया या इन्वेस्टिगेशन में आ गया कि आप गलत केस कर रहे हो, तो उसमें भी अलग तरीके से उसमें सेक्शन अभी ऐड होने वाले हैं, जिसका फायदा सामने वाले को होगा जिसके ऊपर रॉन्गफुली केस रजिस्टर किया हुआ है। तो ये जो आपका जो पहला है कि लड़के डरते हैं या कि हमने केस झूठा हमारे पर केस होगा, तो ये सही है, ऐसे बहुत बार होता है। बट इन्वेस्टिगेशन में जब ये सामने आ जाता है तब हम वो उसको क्लियर कर देते हैं। हम चार्जशीट नहीं डालते उसके ऊपर, हम केस आगे उसका कोर्ट में वो प्रोसीजर नहीं चलती है, हम वहीं पर केस क्लोज कर देते हैं।
करेक्ट, थैंक यू अनघा मैम, बहुत आई थिंक इम्पोर्टेंट इन्फॉर्मेशन है। तो पुलिस एक प्रॉपर दोनों जेंडर के साथ सही हो वो देखता है, पुलिस जेंडर स्पेसिफिक काम नहीं करता है। मेरा एक रिक्वेस्ट है, इफ अगर आपके साथ कभी कुछ होता है स्टॉकिंग केस, ऑनलाइन केस, आई वुड से कि आप स्क्रीनशॉट्स निकाल के एविडेंस रखिए, क्योंकि वो भी बहुत जरूरी है। जब आप स्टेशन में जा रहे हैं आपको भी याद रहेगा कि ये चीज हुआ है। तो आई थिंक इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट टू कीप सम एविडेंस टुगेदर कि कभी कुछ गलत होता है तो, क्योंकि पुलिस इज ऑल्सो नॉट गॉड, उनके लिए भी ये एविडेंस होना, एक समझना क्या हो रहा है क्या है, तो उसके लिए हम भी अपने लिए करना जरूरी है। मुझे ऐसा एक एक्सपीरियंस से मालूम पड़ता है। Okay, any other questions for Anagha ma'am? I think it was a very, very wonderful interaction with her. So any other questions for Anagha ma'am? राइट मैम, अगर बाद में कोई क्वेश्चंस आते हैं तो हम डेफिनेटली आपको थोड़ा परेशान करेंगे, करना चाहते हैं, बिकॉज आप बताते भी इतने अच्छे से कि वी डोंट फील स्कैर्ड, वी फील लाइक वी कैन अप्रोच यू। सो थैंक यू सो मच फॉर योर प्रेजेंस मैम, थैंक यू फॉर योर टाइम। आप जुड़े रहिए हमारे साथ थोड़े टाइम और आई विल हैंड इट ओवर टू ब्यूला. Beulah, if there is any other questions, or we can do vote of thanks and then we can.
Yes, ma'am. There are a few questions and there are participants who are really ready to unmute and ask.
Okay,
So
one second. I know we are 2 minutes over our time. If any participant wants to leave or any panelist, I think we can quickly do a vote of thanks. Don't want to keep anybody waiting, Beulah. So let's just do that, and then later we can take the questions once you can.
Okay, ma'am. Then yeah, we'll go ahead with the vote of thanks part. So yeah. One second. So I'll start with the vote of thanks. I, Beulah Sundarajan, NSS volunteer, on behalf of Mental Health Club, in collaboration with NSS unit of Pansanga's SM Shetty College of Science, Commerce and Management Studies, Pavai, extend my gratitude and would like to thank all of you for your active participation. It was an amazing and informative session, and I hope you all learned something valuable today. I would like to thank our wide range of panelists for sharing their perspective on the concept of teenage relationships. I would like to thank our police officer, Ms. Anagha Satavase ma'am, for the law perspective, Ms. Principal of Bansanga's SM Shetty College International School and Junior College, Ms. Mildred Lobo ma'am, for sharing her parents' perspective, our degree college professor, Mr. John Menezes sir, for sharing a teacher's perspective, Ms. Natasha Mehta ma'am, our psychologist, and our students, Ms. Nehal Rai and Mr. Ratan Savant, for sharing the female and male perspective in a teenage relationship. I would also share a few points from the session. So relationship queries requires many components that creates a trustful bond between people, like respecting the partner, giving them, communicating, and with them if the person feels low or is inferior or insecure of something, learning from the mistakes together, taking responsibility of the bond you have, understanding and support your partners, giving your partner the space or time they need, and also giving time to relationship, going step by step. It can be with anyone, like friends or bond between the couples or even after marriage. All these factors actually create what you call a beautiful and strong bond with the person you choose to be your friend or your partner. So these are some key points that I just shed a light on. So moving ahead, I would like to also thank our wonderful management for supporting us, our principal, Dr. Sridhara Shetty, our vice principal, Dr. Liji Santosh, and our vice principal, Sir Professor Sandesha Shetty. Our mental health club in charge, Ms. Natasha Mehta ma'am, our NSS program officers, Dr. Vijay Vishwakarma sir and Professor John Menezes sir, our teacher in charges, Professor Ashish Navik sir and Professor Swati Shetty ma'am, for supporting us and guiding us throughout the event. I would also like to thank our technical team for providing Zoom platform, my teammates who worked behind the scene to make this event successful, and last but not the least, I would like to thank all my dear teachers, non-teaching staffs, and all my dear participants for devoting their time and making this webinar a huge success. And I hope you all enjoyed this wonderful webinar. Thank you. Now, I would like to call upon Ms. Dhanlakshmi to take over the Q&A session if there are.
Yeah, I just wanted to 1 second intervene. Is Mildred ma'am left?
Okay.
I think she had to. That's okay. All right. If there is any parting words from the panelists before the panelists leave, please, panelists, do share that also with all of us before your leave. So yeah, we can. I think we are. Yes, Pratha ma'am, you're saying something.
No. I just got a call from Anakha ma'am. I think she has left now, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
so I was just taking her call. And she was asking if everything was okay and all that. So
Very
I
good,
told her
okay.
that, see, Anagha ma'am has always been there for us, for our students. So I just want to tell all our college students, the police are here to help us. And, I just wanted to thank her. She's obviously on duty as well, but she's taken the time out to, answer all these questions that were there. And her rich experience has always guided us. We have approached her for all kinds of situations, and we have got the right kind of advice from her. And I'm so glad she came here today. Anyway, sorry. So I don't know if you had any other question when I was speaking to her.
No,
Please
thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I just wanted to ask, I mean, actually, I was asking all the panelists if there's any parting words that, they wanted to, because Beulah did a vote of thanks. Probably Mildred ma'am also had to leave. She was in school. I totally
Yes.
And
I just want to say, if I can,
yes,
see,
yes.
fairy tales mein hota hai na, happily ever after. So this is a choice, right? This is for us to see how we can do it. And I think Ratin was talking about breakups and all that, because this is about relationships, is about peaks and valleys. And arguments and all this have to happen to show how strong that relationship is. But of course, you have to see to what end, like the rubber band, you just have to snap and, look after your mental health. Relationships need to add value to you. And if it's not adding value and it's taking away from you, it's not a relationship worth having.
Absolutely, I agree, ma'am. The person should be an asset in your life, So it's important that we look into this, not just somebody who's taking off from us all the time. See, we are nice people, we are giving people, we are loving people, but doesn't mean we ignore. We are not ignorant people. So, so that is important to remember, students. Yeah. Anybody else would want to add before we quickly go to the questions?
Yeah, ma'am, can I go?
Yes, please.
So, as a continuation to what Beulah said, Beulah, thanks to you as well for hosting such an amazing webinar. You've been great. And I mean, Pratima ma'am very aptly summed everything up, as well as Beulah. So, और कुछ ज्ञान नहीं है मेरे पास देने के लिए. I just want to thank all the panelists for being a part of this with me, and thanks for inviting me as well. And all the audience members, it means a lot. We have over 200 people listening in. It really means a lot. And to everyone who switched their videos on,
and they're
you have
here.
no idea just how much, yeah, they still are. And to everyone who switched their videos on, it's really so helpful while looking at faces while you're talking. So it was really great. It almost felt as if I was in front of you all talking to you all. So each and every one, if you, I can see a couple of people from UPS, there is obviously Tanishq, and thanks to you all for switching on your videos and being an interactive part of this. Of course, we'll be taking the questions now, and I hope everyone has fun, discussing all the things. So have a great day, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you. I think Tanishq ka ek question tha, wherein he said about kaunsa age, kaunsa time. Was that the question? Tanishq, you want to unmute
what
yourself?
Tanishq was saying was because he was mentioning
Priyanka Chopra and Nick.
Yeah, what I want to convey is,
Yes, Tanishq, please do.
Hello, ma'am. By any chance, do you know me? I just wanted to know from you if by any chance you know me. No, okay, that's fine. Hi, I'll come to my question first. Ma'am, my uncle studied abroad and he had a love marriage later, like at the perfect time, like not even the age was wrong or anything, but just because he was in college and he met his wife in college, he is looked down upon by the society. So like they are like कि even आज अगर मेरी we talk about my दादी, they are like अरे अगर बेटे ने खराब कर दिया तो तुझसे तो क्या उम्मीद है कि मतलब तू भी लव मैरिज कर ही सकता है, and all of that. So what is the right time to come to a relationship? What is the right time to come? Like, is it a 13-year-old boy following in love and then continuing it till 27 years and then marrying? That's all. I don't want to elaborate a lot.
No,
That's
Tanishq, I think it's a very genuine question, something that comes, out of your own experience and heart. And I'm sure it's a society, as an Indian society, especially talking from our culture, ये बहुत common है क्योंकि सबके अपने एक setups है, stigmas है. तो वो लाइन है ना, वो गाना कहते हैं ना कि कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना. तो हम अगर दूसरों का ही सुनते रहेंगे तो हम समझ नहीं पाएंगे कि राइट क्या है, क्योंकि हम कभी अपना नहीं सुन पा रहे, क्योंकि उनकी आवाजों ने हमें घेर दिया है ना. तो हमें अपने आप से पूछना है कि मेरे मन को ये राइट वक्त लगता है, मेरे दिमाग को ये राइट वक्त लगता है, क्योंकि मैंने मैनेज की है सिचुएशंस उतनी अच्छे से. राइट का मतलब क्या है? हेल्दी. कुछ सही गलत नहीं है. देयर इज नो गुड और बैड. प्लीज रिमेंबर, देयर इज नो ब्लैक और व्हाइट. ये जो सोच हमारे मन में अटक गई है ना कि ये राइट है, ये रॉन्ग है, ऐसा नहीं है. राइट क्या है? वो है जो आपके लिए हेल्दी है, जो आपको ग्रोथ दे रहा है. तो अगर आपके अंकल के केस में उनके जो रिलेशनशिप हुआ, उस रिलेशनशिप ने उनको ग्रोथ दी, हेल्थ दिया, इवॉल्व हुए, वो कॉलेज से जैसे साथ में हुए, तो क्या इसमें गलत है? ये हेल्दी है, राइट? बाकी जो लोग जो बोल रहे हैं वो उनका ओपिनियन है. ओपिनियन फैक्ट नहीं होता. तो ओपिनियंस है, ओपिनियंस फैक्ट नहीं होते. एंड एंड ऑफ द डे आई फील विद माय लिमिटेड एक्सपीरियंस, to each their own. You're an adult, everybody is an adult over here. They know what is best for themselves. कोई सजेशन मांगने आता है तो हम देखते हैं कि बेस्ट हेल्दी चीज इसके लिए क्या हो सकती है, बट हम ओपिनियंस नहीं देते, जजमेंट नहीं पास करते, क्योंकि हमें नहीं पता उनके लिए वो फैक्ट नहीं है. ओपिनियन ओपिनियन होता है और हमें इग्नोर करना चाहिए. कभी कभी दूसरों की आवाजें बहुत ज्यादा घेरती है, तो हमें अपनी आवाज सुननी चाहिए, जो हमारे लिए हेल्दी है वो फॉलो करना चाहिए. Anything
Can I
anybody would want
complete
to
my
add?
question? Yes, ma'am. You
Yeah.
actually did it. One last question.
Sure.
Ma'am, I'm in between a situation. I'll try to sum it up in 2 sentences. Ma'am, there is this girl who I know from school. And she regularly, because on 15 days, she used to call me and she used to tell me about this person she likes. Gradually, this person has been trying to resist her, and I told her that if a person doesn't like, so what the most he can do is like he can write on his, like, have a tattoo, leave me. But he has done every single thing. He's tried to humiliate her, like not to the extent of very bad, but he actually tried to abuse her and make her shoo her away. But I tried, and tried to tell her that she has been humiliating him for such a long time by not listening to his thing. He doesn't want to do. He's in 12th and she is my age. I'm in college. She's behind his life. So now that person has tried to take advantage of him, gave her what we can call oot patang dare. मतलब 3-4 dare देके कुछ ऊट पटांग videos बनाने को बोल रहा है. And she did that also, 2 or 3 of them. So I have tried to ghost her now, as you said, ghost. Because I did not want to fall, because I'm the only witness and I'm the only person who knows the entire situation. All of that I'm telling you. Do you really think I did the right thing, or what should I do in such a situation? Because this has come like a blessing in disguise, probably.
You were a friend to her, Tanishq?
Yes.
And you were trying to help her.
I did try to help her. I told her to stay up.
Talk her out of the self-sabotage behavior that she's participating in.
Yes, because she used to call me. I used to tell her what she used to ask my opinion. I was like, I don't want to know anything. I just want to know. He's saying no, and that's all. No means no.
No means no. Absolutely, you're right. A non-consensual relationship is not a relationship, and it's an addiction. Your friend is going through an addiction. It's a relationship addiction. It's a person addiction. So she's not able to get over it. So there is a need for help.
What should I do? That's my question.
You can let her or guide her to a mental health professional or speak to her elders or her teacher. That is something that you can do. And if you don't want to be involved in this further, because obviously this is, I think it's taking a toll on your own mental health also. I can see that because you are struggling so much to help her, but she's not ready to probably help her own self. So it's a very specific question. I think, Tanish, what you could also do is just reach out to us. Let's talk this in general, when we do happen to meet. Or you could give, if that person is from our college, you could give her our number also.
She's not, I am in Greater Noida, ma'am. I am in North India.
Oh,
I can't.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tanish. Thank you. Take care of your mental health first. My suggestion. All right. So, ma'am, should we wrap up? I also have a class today.
Yeah, I think there was just one thing, about is it okay to find love at the age of 40? You can find love at any age. Whatever that love is such a broad term now. So whoever has actually posed that question, and I think Tanishq, you also, whatever you felt in your heart, please speak to someone and have a heart, where there's a lot of things underneath to what you are saying. Let's wherever you are, reach out to someone so you can speak at length on this. Okay, not in this forum. We're not able to give you that attention that your question deserves right now. Yeah. Okay. I think we can, if there are no more questions, I leave it to you, Natasha, and the panelists and the co-hosts.
Ma'am, there is a question. There are times when we really want to open up about our relationships to our parents, but we are unable to create that same. Are there any suggestions that can be done to make it better?
This is again the dynamics for specific family dynamics. And I do understand not every parent-child relationship is as open or full of acceptance. There is rigidity. We have to somewhere see what the situation is and do the best possible option. I always tell myself, and I was also your age, obviously, and I'm still some, of course, मुझे भी अपने पेरेंट्स से बात करते टाइम डर लगता है, 2 बार सोचते हैं कि क्या रिएक्शन देंगे, रिस्पॉन्स देंगे. बट बहुत जरूरी है कि हम एक ट्रस्ट बिल्ड करें. जैसे स्नेहल भी बोल रही थी कि एक ट्रस्ट फैक्टर बिल्ड करना बहुत जरूरी है. ट्रस्ट उनका आप में कब बिल्ड होगा, या आपका अपने अंदर भी ट्रस्ट कब बिल्ड होगा, जब हम कुछ ऐसा करते हैं जहाँ पे we are showing consistency in our behavior, or we are keeping our promises of completing our education well, or being sincere in our efforts, etc. And then slowly try to bond with the parent. That's what I feel. On some simpler topics, open up a little bit and see how their responses. If you cannot at all, कोई ऐसी situation आती कि parents से नहीं बात कर पा रहे, कभी हो जाता है ऐसा, तो आप कोई टीचर या कोई और एडल्ट से बात कर सकते हैं. जब आप थोड़े और एज के हो जाएंगे, थोड़े और एडल्ट हो जाएंगे, थोड़े और आप में स्ट्रेंथ आएगी, तो तब आप 1-on-1 भी बात कर सकते हैं, या फिर वो टीचर को इन्वॉल्व करने से आप लोग एक जॉइंट मीटिंग भी कर सकते हैं, या जो भी आपके काउंसलर है, तो वो भी कभी कभी हेल्प होता है. That intervention also you can take forward. Pratima, any suggestions you have?
No, see, there is always a reason behind a parent's fear concern, or a resistance, or a concern, and it is that we need to address as children. And I was also actually, I found love at the age of 18, and of course I got a lot of opposition from my parents at that time. And now looking back, I can understand why that was. As you know, we were talking about the brain. We talk about how our own brain is developing. We are impulsive. We are not able to take the right decision. But at that time, we feel this is our world and nobody can understand us. So as a parent also, that is the fear. If you want to speak to them, it's about that trust will come when they also see that, see, mom and dad, I'm not getting into something which will hurt you, or I'm not going to hurt myself either. But that communication needs to be there with them.
Absolutely.
And it's not simple. There is no one prescription that can be given, but you have to, it's that communication, having on a more, the pros and cons, and them feeling that, yeah, she's ready to take that responsibility, or he is ready to take that responsibility, because a relationship is responsibility, not just for yourself, but for that other person as well.
Yeah, and I remember, see, I lost my dad very young, and just like quickly I'll take you through this, but I somehow, by God's grace, found a person who I could trust as an adult, a trusted adult, and that really helped me at that point. because sometimes I was also entering into behaviors where I would allow the other person walk directly into, without boundaries and things like that. But as a child, I may not know. So if parents के साथ communication हो रहा है, very good, नहीं हो रहा है, कोई तो trusted adult आपके life में, don't close that door. That's all that I wanted to say. Keep the door open. The guidance and the strength that comes, either it could be your teacher, and if not, at least really try, because like Pratima ma'am said, see, parents are actually concerned. They love you. There is no other reason why they would, not want to. They're just afraid. Sometimes it's their own fear that is showing as anger. That understanding actually helps. So don't spoil your relationship with them or thinking in your own mind कि ये मुझे समझते नहीं है या समझना नहीं चाहते, तो मैं ये होल्ड करके ग्रज रखूंगा लाइफ टाइम. नहीं, that's not our aim. We try the best at whatever stage we are. Ma'am, I am sorry, I'll have to leave because I have another class. If what do we do? I know there are a lot of questions in the box.
I think there will be a lot of questions because this is on relationships. It's quite a lot of it's very individualistic actually.
Yeah.
A lot of personal things as well. So I think if any of these questions are from our college students, I would really suggest that you please reach out to the counselor, reach out to Natasha ma'am or to any of us from the counseling center or through the mental health club and put these questions to us so we can give you the time that your question deserves. Right. I hope we are not discrediting any of your feelings by ending this session. We were to end at 6. It's nearly half an hour past that. So giving respect to the other panelists and to our participants who are still here very patiently with us, I think we have to draw this to a close. Any of these questions, please put it. I don't know if you have it as your in your feedback form. If there are any questions, please put that. If it isn't, just put it on your chat box, and I'm sure we have this recording, so we will have the screenshot of that also. And I think if you're a college student, reach out to us. Yeah, I think we should draw this to a close.
Thank you.
Ma'am, or also we could do one thing, Natasha ma'am, if you can share your mail ID in the chat box and they can mail you the questions.
Yes, that's a good idea. I'll do that. There you go. Yeah. Natasha M at smshettyinstitute.org. You can just reach out. And it's Pratima B at smshettyinstitute.org. Whoever you would want to, please reach out to. And thank you for all the love and patience and participation. I think that's what made this event what it is. So please reach out. Feel free to reach out at any time.
We can stop the recording and end the meeting. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Have a good